A spate of quakes in California's Central Valley was almost certainly triggered by oil and gas activity. Scientists made the discovery after studying a local surge in injection of wastewater underground, peaking in 2005. The practice, which is used in fracking, was linked to an unusual jump in seismic activity in and around a Tejon oil field in southern Kern County. In Oklahoma and other Midwestern states, the U.S. Geological Survey and others have linked operations with a dramatic surge in earthquakes. Many of those quakes occur in swarms in places where oil companies pump briny wastewater left over from oil and gas production deep underground. The oil and gas industry uses injection wells to get rid of wastewater, which has a high salt content, as well as radioactive material. It's important to emphasize that definitely California is not Oklahoma, lead author Thomas Goebel at the University of California at Santa Cruz said. We don't really expect to see such a drastic increase in earthquake occurrences in California given different oil field methods and geology in the two areas. In Kern County, the shaking topped out on September 22, 2005, with 3 quakes, the biggest magnitude 4.6, researchers said. The team calculated the odds of that happening naturally, independently of the oil field operations, at just 3%, Goebel said. However, the oil field operation may change the pressure on faults and cause some local earthquakes in California, he said. Researchers are now studying other areas of the state to see if California's high background level of shakiness is obscuring other seismic activity possibly linked to oil field activity. California is the country's third-largest oil-producing state. The Center for Biological Diversity Environmental Group, using state figures, estimates that the amount of oil field wastewater injected underground in California climbed from 350 million barrels in 1999 to 900 million barrels in 2014. Human-induced earthquakes are a growing problem across the U.S., researchers claim. A group of experts met last year in Oklahoma to pinpoint seismic hotspots around the country caused by induced quakes. Scientists initially identified 14 regions affected by quakes linked to drilling. They later added 3 other high-risk areas, northern Oklahoma, southern Kansas, Greeley, Colorado, and Azle, Texas. Catherine Reheis Boyd, president of oil industry group the Western States Petroleum Association, said the organization is reviewing the study. But she said the study's calls for careful monitoring are consistent with what the group's member companies are already doing. In December, California commissioned Lawrence Berkeley National Laboratory to study the overall potential for oilfield-induced quakes in the state, said Don Drisdale, spokesman for the State Division of Oil, Gas, and Geothermal Resources, the main oil regulatory agency. Rules that went into effect last year for some intensive forms of oil production require monitoring for seismic activity. In California, of course, we have a lot of natural seismicity here, so it's much more difficult to establish that an earthquake was caused by oil field activity than it is in places like Oklahoma, which used to be quiet, said Art Magar, a seismologist at the U.S. Geological Survey. Nonetheless, I think they made at least a fairly convincing case that these earthquakes were related to fluid injection by oil field operators, added Magar.